Hello, friends. Smoking a little Blake Briars Bulldog. I think it's called an Aristocrat. A little rusticated Bulldog. Some haunted bookshop in it. Picked up a little sample of that recently. This is a VR for Pipefool. He doesn't have a contest going or anything like that. He just asked a cool question. I do believe I've answered it before, but who knows what video that's buried in. But he wants to know how we got our usernames. Mine being Yardism. Well, I've been Yardism for over 25 years. And it started out when this new thing came to town back in North Alabama called an ISP, an Internet Service Provider. There were previously none of these around. I had just learned about this thing called the Internet. That sounds really cool. I'd been on AOL and CompuServe and all that stuff before, local bulletin board services. But the internet, that was something new. I knew it had different things on it like IRC, which was Internet Relay Chat, where you could talk to people real time and or chat, type back and forth. I knew it had something called the World Wide Web, which was absolutely in its infancy when I first joined up. It didn't even have photos on it. You had to download each photo before you could see it. It would just say photo and have a link for it. There was something else they were called MUDs, MUD, and I can't remember what that stands for. Multi-user something. Multi-user thing. Anyway, they were these little worlds you could go into, and basically it was alternate reality. I don't know what you would call it. Role-playing things. You'd go in there and mess around in people's dungeons and little worlds they created, and it was all text. It was all text-based stuff back then. Google wasn't around. You had something called Gopher. That was the University of Minnesota's web search server, the Gopher. And it wasn't nearly as good as modern day search engines. Anyway, and you could also get email, which I had heard about recently. I didn't know it as email at the time. I only had heard it called electronic mail. So I drove out to the place. That's how you did it back then. Signed up for the service. It was like $9 or something a month. They gave you software. I believe it was, I want to say it was a 5 1/4 inch floppy disk. It might have been the 3.5, but I believe it was the big ones. You had to put it all on your computer, load it all on there, sign up, do all this other stuff. But anyway, the guy says, so what do you want your username to be? I said, what's a username? had never heard it referred to as that before. AOL had nicknames, I believe they were called. But anyway, had to come up with a username right then, standing there in his office. So the wheels in my head started turning. My brother was a huge Jerry Reed fan for a while and had acquired the nickname Bird because he could play some of his stuff so well on guitar. So that popped in my head. I was also really getting into Charlie Parker at that time, so that popped in my head. Yardbird. And I was a tremendous fan of the guitarist that had come through the ranks of the Yardbirds, the band, Clapton, Beck, and Page. So all those things kind of snapped in my head at the same time, and I said Yardbird. So that was my name, Yardbird. I go home and sign up, get on the internet and start messing around. Eventually came on the chat rooms, and at the time, your name wasn't proprietary. First come, first serve. Well, it turns out after about 2 months, Yardbird became a popular name for some reason or another. And I found it harder and harder to achieve that username when I went online. Because somebody else would already be signed into the service under that name. And then, in the chat communities that I was in, somebody decided to make a bot, and those were little fake users that you could put in the rooms as a placeholder or to do little robotic functions and things like that, and they named it Yardbird, and that thing stayed online 24/7. So I had to come up with something different. I went through all kinds of different stuff. Yard board, yard bread, drib dray. That was Yardbird backwards. I finally came up with Yardism. And that one stuck. I became Yardism. Had to explain to everybody what it meant. It didn't mean anything. I finally defined it as the art of being Yardism. Some people thought I was trying to form some new religion. All this weird stuff. I actually have personalized license plates somewhere. I looked for them for about 20 minutes before I shot this video. From Alabama in 1992 or 93, the sticker on that plate is Yardism. So it's proof it's been around a while. I still hope I can find that. I thought I knew where it was, but apparently I didn't. I think that'd make a good backdrop back here. So that's where Yardism came from. An on-the-spot culmination of a few things that evolved into what it is now for, I don't know, for survival's sake, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, that's where it came from. There's a bunch of people out there over the years, going back 15, 20 years, that I've met online that don't know me as anything but Yard. So, there you go. Thanks a lot for asking that question. This ought to get you some good VRs and some good responses. I've seen about 4 or 5 comments so far. So, there you go, man. Keep up the good work. I love your videos. Take care of yourself. Enjoy your pipe. Ignore the hype.